Yeah, and speaking about government not operating from the bottom up, I think that leads us to our next topic here.
Yes, yes. So as I we've discussed lately, it seems like this thing's going on is immigration has hit home in Massachusetts, and actually part of my district is Taunton, and Taunton, Mass, is dealing with some immigration from people from Haiti. So what happened in 2021 is their president was assassinated, and since then, I guess their whole country is devolved, and things are getting bad, and people fear for their lives. So I don't fault anybody, for wanting a better life and wanting to come to America or go to some other country and leave something bad. I mean, I think a lot of people think America is starting to get bad and they're looking to go to maybe other countries. I've heard that. Where can I go? So this video, the video we're gonna watch and the discussion we're gonna have isn't about immigration in the sense that, hey, we shouldn't have people come to America legally. I think what it is again is we have emergencies and politicians, they just make rash decisions, don't really have plans in place, and it has long-term effects, kind of like, all these things kind of blend together. We're talking about there was a COVID emergency, and you had these experts and all these people and threw money and policies, and then we're looking back and like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done all that stuff. And I think we're going down the same track with here with immigration. Like, people are leaving their countries for a myriad of reasons, but the answer shouldn't always be that we have to either take it on. Like, I think we need to work collaboratively with the countries these people come from and maybe other countries and say, hey, how can we help fix it? I mean, look, we're helping Ukraine with hundreds of billions of dollars, but we can't help Haiti? And that's where these people are from. So let me play some of this video and then we'll discuss it. And there's some doozies in it, though.
First at 5:30 tonight, a surge in southern New England. More than 100 families, some of which are migrants, are being temporarily housed in hotels across Massachusetts, including Taunton. Good to have you back with us. I'm Dan Jana.
And I'm Emily Bowles. NBC 10 Bristol County News Chief Jody Reed has learned how most of them got here and what's being done to help them establish a new life.
When you think of the crisis at the border, you don't typically think about Taunton, Massachusetts. But within the last month, that has changed. According to the Department of Housing and Community Development, 120 families, some of which are from Haiti, have been temporarily placed at the Clarion Hotel.
Ever since the president was assassinated there, just the political and the security situation have deteriorated so much that there's no safety there. People need to get out. And so that's one of the reasons why we're seeing so many people come here.
When I asked how the migrants got here, immigration experts told me they came on their own after crossing through a legal point of entry into the country. They presented their documents to
I had to stop right there. I love that. Like, how did they get here? They got here on their own, legally.
Do you remember, I think it was like last summer, it was almost every day on the news, there was this bridge in Texas, and there was like thousands of people on the bridge. And each day there was more people under the bridge. And then it would just get more news coverage. And then all of a sudden one day there was like nobody under the bridge. And all of a sudden the media kind of stopped reporting on it. Well, I think we're starting to find out where all those people went that were under the bridge that day.
Yeah. So let's finish this out because, again, there's a couple more interesting things. But I just wanted to... You would hope news, right? You want news people and people that report on stories to maybe give a little bit more. Hey, we asked these people how this happened. It happened. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
The other part I like, too, is how they just give, the president was assassinated, so that's why people are coming over. But they don't give any statistics. They don't give any data points. Violent crime has surged by X amount. Or, these are the reasons why. It's just like, here's a statement, and then you're supposed to believe it.
So when I watched this video, I heard that, and I'm like, so the president was assassinated, so people should come over. So I looked into it, and I guess there's a lot of gang killings. It's I went to the State Department's website. They have a travel advisory. They advise you don't go there, and it's kind of bad. But that was in 2021. That was 2 years ago. And again, this goes to a lot of things I say. We're too busy trying to solve problems all around the world that maybe we should or shouldn't. But when there's problems that are directly affecting us, right? For example, the Ukraine kind of affects us, but Europe should probably be helping more. But Haiti's close to us. immigrants from there coming here, maybe we should, hey, listen, instead of spending the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars we're going to spend on this, maybe what we can do is go down there, help them out, help them build their country. So, like I said, I think politicians want quick fixes, things to pat themselves on the back and say, hey, I'm doing something. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. So let's just finish this video really quick.
Immigration officers and are now awaiting approval for work visas, which can take months to process.
Is that these people who are eligible for work authorization, it's taking so long for them to get it. They're not able to support themselves. These are people who want to be working. They want to have jobs. They want to be earning for their families.
While they wait for their work visas and a more permanent housing solution, the migrants count on organizations that provide support like housing and food, many of which are state-run, but the city of Taunton is responsible for doing the rest, something that Mayor Shauna O'Connell told us over the weekend she was not prepared for.
We are concerned. Having 400 people in a short amount of time just come into your community without us knowing is a challenge.
A challenge that certainly won't be solved overnight.
First at 5.
Yeah, so that's the other couple pieces of this. I'd watched another video where that Mayor O'Connell spoke, and the children of these families have to be put in schools. So I'm sure their English as a second language. I'm sure there's an expense to that. So in addition to them being housed and fed, probably clothed, there's the expense of education. And then we're in May right now, and you have a mayor of a town and doing budgets, and I'm sure like my town a couple weeks ago had a big budget thing and people vote on it, and they're like, hey, do we get a $60,000 vehicle, or do we get this fire truck for $850,000, or do we spend money on this? And everyone's like hemming and hawing like, hey, taxes are getting crazy. And all of a sudden you plop 400 extra people in the town that you weren't accounting for, and you have to now provide for them, which again, I believe we should help. But here's one of the funniest things is again, like I said, don't outsource your thinking. Something we talk about and try looking at these stories and how they're reported to us. The reporter said there's a bunch of organizations that are helping these people out. Now, in the past, these people would have been helped by churches or volunteer organizations that would help these people out, raising money, beds, everything. But again, we've allowed politics and politicians to get into these areas that probably were more efficient, probably done a better job, it would probably cost less. And what did the reporter say? Oh, these organizations, they're mostly state run. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, like you said, in the past too, you look back 100 years ago, I think it was like 15 cents on every dollar was going to government, state, local, or federal. Today, it's over 50 cents of every dollar is going into the government. So you're looking at the ability of individual people to help at this point. There's some that can, but then when you start adding in like the costs of goods and everything else going up, it's like pretty much individual people have lost their ability to help out because so much is going just to pay taxes and the cost of living that it pretty much has to fall on the state to take care of.
And there's been a concerted effort against churches and undermining them and labeling them as all sorts of phobes or racists or supremacists or whatever, just because politicians wanted to get in no space because they said, hey, listen, we want to take over the things churches do. Truthfully, I 100% believe that because they want to infiltrate every area of your life and they want to be your religion. So we've allowed, and like you said, I don't think everyone's allowed, but what's happened is they've made it way too expensive for the average person to do things and help out. So now they have to assume more of that responsibility because, again, as we always say, their policies don't make things better. They make it worse. And by making it worse, they get more power because they have to fix the problems that they caused. So I have another video to play too, which goes into a little bit more of this situation and how much this is going to cost. And this, I think, is going to get some people really like, wait, what? So let's listen.
This contract is not cheap. Between rooms and other expenses, the state expects to spend $2.6 million this fiscal year and $10 million next year. The hotel will submit an invoice every 2 weeks with expenses. The rooms alone are going for $123 a night, and then you have to factor in meals. According to the contract, the state has budgeted $37 per person for 3 meals a day. The state is also paying for other items like 24/7 front desk staffing, weekly housekeeping, and toiletries. If bed bugs are found, they'll pay a third party to come and remove them. The contract also has miscellaneous items that range from $1 to $1,000. The state tells us that's for one-off items the hotel may need to buy, like cribs for infants, for example. While the state is working on more permanent housing for these people, the contract has a very interesting clause in case they don't find it. Once the contract expires on June 30th of 2024, they can renew it for a year at a time for the next 9 years. For the NBC Tonight team, I'm Tamara Sakarzik.
So this year it's going to cost 2.6 million. Then every successive year it's going to cost at least $10 million. So, you do the quick math. What's 10 million divided by 400, right? That's how many people? $25,000 per person. So then you do some other quick math. Well, if you're a family of 4, that equates to $100,000 per person that the state is going to use to help these people out.
And that's just housing.
Well, housing and food, right? They get their 3 meals a day of $37.
Well, like you said, they're going to be going into the education system. They're going to be using health services. They're going to be using all sorts of stuff. So that's probably like a quarter of the total cost once you start adding up all these other areas.
And again, I think the thing is, I think a lot of people sit there like, you're being heartless. I'm not being heartless, right? We've said this before. Charity should begin at home. There's a lot of problems that if we had capable politicians, we had capable lawmakers, we could actually fix problems. We could actually do things to solve problems. We could help homeless. We could help the elderly. We'd help the people on fixed incomes. We could do that. And then you know what else we could do? We could help other people that need help. The problem is, because it's not their money and these politicians think that it grows on trees or they can just keep taxing the heck out of us, they don't care. They just spend it like it's crazy. Like the average household in my area, I think, is like $90,000 income. You got a family of 4 living in a hotel and they're paying $100,000 for that family of 4.
You brought up a good point earlier too about actually investing in those countries to help them out, and I think that's what a lot of companies are starting to look at. So this term called offshoring is really popular for companies that want to hire teams in like India and all other parts of the globe. But recently, I've started to see a trend of companies looking. The term is called nearshoring. Yes. So what they're looking to do is start investing in the Central America region, just because there's so many benefits hiring a worker there, not only like time zone, but like geopolitical risk and language barriers and everything like that. There's a lot of opportunity there. Yes. And as you were mentioning, so in order to invest in these communities, it's such a great opportunity that exists in a lot of those countries that are just untapped resources that, like, if we started focusing on there, we could really build up some of those countries so that you don't have these waves of people that need to come here, that they can essentially have a living and grow their family. Because most of them, like, I can't imagine anyone wants to like leave their country and go to a completely new place that speaks a completely different language than it's like, well, and
listen, if you were paying me to go live in another country, I might do it.
Right.
I might.
But yeah, it's like not someone's number one option is to like move their entire family into a completely new world. So I'm sure if the opportunity exists, a lot of folks would prefer to stay where they are, grow their families where they are, where they grew up in, and build a successful lifestyle at home.
Well, the other thing I did too when I was searching this, I saw a couple of headlines. And so I went to the New York Post's website and pulled these off because it was actually pretty cool. Well, not pretty cool, but kind of telling of what's going on around the country. Because, again, a lot of times we talk about things that are local. But I think what people have to start to realize is that things that might be local here, it's not unique to here. It's happening all across the country. And I like I said before, I think there's people way high up that want to see these things happen, and in areas that they have influence over, they're making these things happen. So this first New York Post article, I don't know the day, May 13th, I believe it was, vets kicked out for migrants. Outrage as upstate hotels tell 20 homeless veterans to leave. So you have homeless veterans, people who've paid taxes, served their country, being kicked out for migrants. And then here's another one we have. Kids sacrificed, it said. Now, obviously, this is to get people to buy their paper or to read the article. But what it's saying is parents furious as at least 7 New York City school gyms closed for migrant shelters. Again, this is kind of like putting the cart before the horse. We want to do good things, and you know what? For the last, I don't know, at least 6 years, right? Probably started with Donald Trump, with build the wall or whatever, and knowing there was immigration and influx of people wanting to come here, and our immigration policy hasn't been fixed and probably could be fixed, but again, no one wants to make decisions, is that we knew these things were coming and nothing's done. And then what happens is we get these reactionary policies that hurt people that live here. It's just, like I said, and I think I hate to harp on this. I hate to always be like, we need to do something. And I know people feel like sometimes, like, what can I do? And that's why I always say, do something. Here's my speech again. Do something. Help a person run for office. Do standouts. Give money. Tell people about the show, like and comment, just to get the word out. Even if you just say, hey, listen, I was watching this show and they were talking about this and they were talking about that, and talking with other people to get this in people's minds. Like, hey, listen, I was watching a show. They talked about Gorsuch, and here's the article, and you go find the article. We'll put it on in the comment section below for you to read too, if you want, or to share. But what they did for 3 years wasn't right. And hey, there's immigrants in Taunton, but they're also in New York, and they're also in Colorado and Chicago. They're going everywhere, and they're causing havoc. And they're not causing havoc. Our politicians are. They're just putting a Band-Aid over like a big wound that you need like to go to the hospital for. And they're like, look what I did. I did something great. No, you didn't. And you're making things worse. So whatever people decide they want to do, like I say, do something. It's not. Look at Jim. I'm going to bring you up for a sec, Jim. Look at Jim. What's it? A year and a half ago? Did you think you'd be here doing a show or, running for office and get elected?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people starting to step up and step out. And when those people that do that, and if you know them, support them. That's what they need. Because we need a bunch of people that have the support behind them with good ideas, with a desire to make a positive change, and the ability to question what is going on, and not just question it, because anyone can say, hey, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? I could do better, right? And then you get there and you stink. What's your ideas for this? I think you and I had some good ideas. I like that term, nearshoring. That's a great idea. But I also say, like, why aren't we going to these countries and saying, hey, what do you have? How can we help your quality of life? What can we do? Like, have that cooperation. And the other thing too is how do you think these countries are when you have a lot of young men and a lot of young women who are in their prime and should be like the main workers leaving the country? That doesn't help the country. Your able-bodied workforce is leaving. And the best thing about it, I didn't put these videos up. I'll use them again because I'm sure we'll talk about immigration again. But when you see a lot of Democratic leaders around the country get up and talk about immigrants, it seems like the only thing they think they can do is help keep our food prices lower by working in the fields or doing construction for cheap. And you sit there and you're like, so you're taking able-bodied people that have some skills and can do something from their country so we can get cheap labor? And we sit here, and if you're a person that talks about immigration and you bring this up, you're the evil person. I'm not the evil person.
Right. And the thing that's sad about this whole situation too is if you put on a clip from George Bush Sr., these are clips from 1980s. They're talking about the exact same immigration problems that we're having today. These are 40 years ago. And the difference between then and now is then it was this problem was just starting to surface and become noticeable to people, Whereas now I think we're pretty much at the breaking point where we're at the point where like communities literally cannot take this burden on top of everything else going on. And one example of that is I don't know if you saw, there was on social media, there was a post in Chicago, like one of the inner cities in Chicago. There's a lady with a Build the Wall 2024 poster. And this is like in the inner city of Chicago. And I'm like, man, I mean, this is going to show you how much this is hitting home for people.
And again, I think in the abstract, when people don't think about things, like everyone wants people to be taken care of. So when a politician's like, don't you want these people to be safe? Don't you want these people to be taken care of? Obviously it's yes. But then what happens is their answer for that, when people start realizing what the answer is, they're like, no, not like this. Like there's better things we can do. But again, politicians don't want to find the best way. It might take a while. They just want the most expedient way so they can pat themselves on the back. Never have to look to see if what they did solved any problems, right? That's the other thing that I love about politicians. They implement all these things, and then no matter what happens, they could have wreaked damage and destroyed things. They don't care. Hey, at least I did something. And again, that's what Neil Gorsuch said. We can't have too few people doing stuff because they're going to do stuff, and then we have to suffer the consequences. So